You'll never amount to anything, Matthews, not with your attitude. Those words echoed in my head as I stood outside Westfield High School. 20 years had passed since Mr. Harmon had spoken them, his face twisted with contempt. 20 years since I'd walked these halls as a confused 17-year-old with big dreams and zero confidence. Now I was back. The brick building looked smaller than I remembered, less intimidating. The flagpole still stood tall in front, American flag fluttering in the October breeze. Yellow buses lined the circular driveway, just as they had when I was a student here. My name is Daniel Matthews, and today I was returning to Westfield High not as a failure, but as their new principal. I straightened my tie, gripped my leather briefcase tighter, and took a deep breath. The weight of the moment wasn't lost on me. 20 years ago, I'd left this place in tears, convinced I was worthless. Today, I was walking back in to lead it. Life has a funny way of coming full circle. High school had never been kind to me. I wasn't athletic enough for the jocks or smart enough for the honors kids. My parents had divorced when I was 14, leaving me with my overworked mom who picked up double shifts at the hospital to keep us afloat. I found my escape in art, sketching, painting, anything that let me create worlds different from my own. My bedroom walls were covered with my attempts, landscapes, portraits, abstract pieces, none particularly good, but all deeply meaningful to me. Senior year was supposed to be my breakthrough. I'd applied to the advanced placement art program, convinced it would be my ticket to art school. "Matthews, see me after class," Mr. Harmon announced one day, waving my application in the air like it was contaminated. Richard Harmon, the AP art teacher, department head, 25 years at Westfield. His opinion could make or break your future in the arts. When the other students filed out, I approached his desk, hopeful despite the knot in my stomach. "You want to explain this?" He tossed my application folder on the desk. I want to join the AP art program, sir." He laughed, actually laughed. "With these?" He flipped through my portfolio. "This isn't art, Matthews. This is doodling." My face burned. "I've been practicing a lot, and let me save you some time." He leaned forward. "You have no talent, none. And that attitude of yours, thinking you can just waltz into AP without putting in the work, that's why you'll never amount to anything." I stood frozen, unable to speak. "Don't waste my time again." He turned away, dismissing me completely. I walked out of that classroom a different person. Something broke inside me that day. 3 weeks later, I dropped out of high school. My mother was devastated when I told her I'd quit school. We fought for days. "Daniel, please," she'd begged. "Don't throw your life away because of one teacher's opinion." But I couldn't face going back. Every time I picked up a pencil to draw, I heard Harmon's voice. No talent, never amount to anything. I found a job stocking shelves at a local supermarket, minimum wage, night shifts. It wasn't a life, it was barely existence. 6 months in, I was restocking the magazine section when I saw it. A community college catalog someone had left behind. I flipped through it idly, then stopped at a page about their GED program. Something stirred inside me, a tiny flicker of the person I used to be. That night, I called the number in the catalog. 3 months later, I had my GED. It wasn't a diploma from Westfield, but it was something, a start. The community college counselor suggested I take a few classes. "Just to see what interests you," she said. I enrolled in basic courses, English, math, history, and on a whim, Introduction to Education. That class changed everything. Professor Winters was nothing like Harmon. When I tentatively shared an idea during discussion, she nodded encouragingly. "That's an interesting perspective, Daniel. Tell us more." Tell us more. Not shut up, not you're wrong, not you have no talent. Tell us more. I started speaking up more in class. My papers came back with comments like insightful analysis and strong critical thinking. One day after class, Professor Winters asked me to stay behind. My stomach dropped. Here it comes, I thought. The moment she tells me I'm not cut out for this. Instead, she said, Have you ever considered teaching as a career? I laughed. Me? A teacher? Yes, you. You have a natural ability to connect ideas, to see things from different angles. That's valuable in education. I shook my head. I'm a high school dropout. So, you have your GED now. You can get your bachelor's degree, then a teaching credential. I don't know. Just think about it, she said. Sometimes the best teachers are the ones who didn't have it easy in school themselves. I couldn't sleep that night. Me, a teacher, the idea was absurd. And yet, 4 years later, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in education. My mom cried at the ceremony. I did too. My first teaching job was at Eastside Middle School, 7th grade English. 28 students who tested my patience, my creativity, and my sanity daily. I loved every minute of it. I remembered what it felt like to be overlooked, to be dismissed. I made sure none of my students ever felt that way. Mr. Matthews, this essay is terrible, Jason complained one day, crumpling his paper. I took the crumpled ball, smoothed it out. It's not terrible. It's a draft. First attempts are rarely perfect. That's why we revise. But I'm not good at writing. Yet, I said. You're not good at it yet, but you will be. Year after year, I watched students grow. Some struggled, some excelled. All of them mattered. I went back to school at night, earned my master's degree in educational leadership, moved up to high school teaching, became department head, assistant principal at Lincoln High. And then the email that changed everything. Position open, principal, Westfield High School. My finger hovered over the delete button, Westfield, the place that had broken me. Instead, I clicked apply. The interview process was grueling. 3 rounds of interviews, a presentation to the school board, background checks. When the call came, I was grading papers in my apartment. Mr. Matthews, this is Superintendent Rivera. I'm pleased to offer you the position of principal at Westfield High School. My hand shook as I accepted. That night, I dug through old boxes until I found it. My rejected art portfolio, the one Harmon had dismissed. I flipped through the sketches, seeing them with new eyes. They weren't masterpieces, but they weren't garbage either, just the works of a teenager finding his way. I wondered if Harmon was still teaching at Westfield. The superintendent hadn't mentioned him. 20 years was a long time. He could have retired, moved away, died even. Part of me hoped he was gone. Another part, the part I wasn't proud of, hoped he was still there. My first day as principal began with an all-staff meeting in the auditorium. I stood backstage listening to the superintendent introduce me. With 15 years of experience in education, a proven track record of improving student outcomes, and a passionate commitment to creating inclusive learning environments, please welcome Westfield High's new principal, Mr. Daniel Matthews. Applause as I walked onto the stage. I scanned the crowd of teachers, some young, some older, and there in the third row a face I recognized instantly. Richard Harmon, older, grayer, but unmistakably him. Our eyes met. No recognition in his. Why would there be? I'd been just one of hundreds of students he'd taught, one he'd dismissed and forgotten. I hadn't forgotten him, though. I cleared my throat and began my prepared speech about vision, community, and excellence. All the while, I felt Harmon's eyes on me. After the meeting, teachers lined up to introduce themselves. Harmon hung back, but eventually approached. Mr. Matthews, he said, extending his hand. Richard Harmon, Ape Art. I shook his hand, meeting his eyes. Mr. Harmon, yes, I know. He tilted his head slightly. Have we met before? For a moment, I considered telling him exactly who I was, throwing his words back at him. You'll never amount to anything. Look at me now. Instead, I said, I was a student here, long time ago. Ah, he nodded, clearly not remembering. Well, welcome back to Westfield. I've been teaching here for 45 years, I finished for him. An impressive tenure. He seemed pleased that I knew this. Indeed, I've seen many principals come and go, some better than others. His tone made it clear which category he expected me to fall into. I look forward to working with you, Mr. Harmon. I kept my voice neutral. I believe every teacher has something valuable to contribute. He nodded, already dismissing me in his mind, just as he had 20 years ago. My first months as principal were challenging. Westfield had problems: declining test scores, high teacher turnover, increasing discipline issues. The previous principal had retired after a vote of no confidence from the staff. I worked 14-hour days, met with teachers individually to hear their concerns, visited classrooms, learned students' names, ate lunch in the cafeteria instead of my office. Some teachers embraced the changes I proposed. Others resisted. Harmon led the resistance. These new policies are undermining academic standards, he complained during one staff meeting. In my 45 years of teaching— With all due respect, Mr. Harmon, I interrupted, what worked 45 years ago may not work for today's students. Murmurs of agreement from some teachers. Harmon's face reddened. Perhaps the principal would prefer we just hand out A's to everyone, he said. Participation trophies all around. That's not what I'm suggesting, I replied calmly. I'm suggesting we find ways to engage students where they are, not where we wish they were. The battle lines were drawn, Harmon and his old guard versus my vision for a more supportive Westfield. Then came the budget crisis. The district announced a 15% budget cut. Programs would have to be eliminated, staff reduced. The arts are always first on the chopping block, Harmon declared in the emergency faculty meeting. I suppose you'll be cutting the AP Art program, Mr. Matthews? All eyes turned to me. Actually, I said, I believe arts education is essential. I'll be looking at all programs equally to determine where cuts can be made with minimal impact on students. Harmon looked surprised. He'd expected me to target his program. That night, I pored over budget spreadsheets until my eyes burned. There had to be a way to preserve what mattered most. The solution came at 2 a.m. It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. Across-the-board reductions rather than eliminating entire programs. Combining some administrative roles, postponing facility upgrades. No teacher layoffs, no program cuts. When I presented the plan to the faculty, even Harmon seemed grudgingly impressed. This is thorough, he admitted. A small victory, but the budget crisis had only postponed the real confrontation. It happened in April. I was observing classes, something I did regularly to stay connected to what was happening in classrooms. Harmon's AP art class was on my schedule. I slipped in quietly, taking a seat at the back. Students were presenting their portfolio pieces. A girl named Maya was up front, showing a series of digital illustrations. These lack originality, Harmon said when she finished. Derivative work. You're mimicking styles without understanding fundamentals. Maya's face fell. I thought, that's the problem. You didn't think. Harmon turned to the class. This is what happens when you rush, when you don't put in the work. I watched Maya return to her seat, shoulders slumped. Saw the other students shrink into themselves, afraid to be the next target. It was like watching my own past play out in front of me. When the bell rang, I asked Harmon to stay behind. Is there a problem, Mr. Matthews? His tone was defensive. I'd like to discuss your feedback approach. He sighed heavily. Let me guess. Too harsh? Too honest? This generation needs to toughen up. The real world doesn't need to start in high school, Mr. Harmon. I kept my voice level. Constructive criticism builds skills. Destructive criticism tears down confidence. These kids need to hear the truth. If they don't have talent, talent isn't fixed, I interrupted. It's developed, nurtured. That's our job as educators. He scoffed. 45 years of experience tells me otherwise. Some have it, some don't. And you can tell which is which at 17, 18? Generally, yes. I studied him for a moment. Have you ever been wrong? Excuse me? In your assessments, have you ever told a student they had no talent only to see them succeed later? He waved dismissively. If they succeeded, it wasn't in art. I nodded slowly. I see. I paused, then added, I'd like you to attend the professional development workshop on growth mindset next week. It's not optional, Mr. Harmon. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and I'd like you to review Maya's portfolio again, this time find 3 specific strengths to discuss with her. His face flushed with anger. You can't tell me how to assess my students. Actually, I can. That's part of my job as principal. I smiled slightly. See you at the workshop. The conflict escalated from there. Harmon filed a formal complaint with the teachers' union claiming I was undermining his authority. He rallied his supporters among the older faculty. I stood my ground, continued classroom observations, insisted on constructive feedback practices. Then came the art show. Westfield's annual student art exhibition was a big event. Parents, community members, local artists all attended. Harmon had controlled it for decades, selecting which student work was displayed. I'll be implementing a new selection process this year, I announced at a department meeting. Harmon nearly exploded. What? A committee of 3 faculty members will select the pieces for display. You'll chair the committee, Mr. Harmon, working with Ms. Patel and Mr. Washington. This is my exhibition, he sputtered. I've run it for 30 years. It's Westfield's exhibition, I corrected, featuring our students' work, all our students. The art show committee meetings were tense. Harmon fought every suggestion from the other teachers, but gradually a more inclusive exhibition took shape. On opening night, the school gymnasium transformed into a gallery. More student work displayed than ever before. Different styles, different skill levels, all celebrated. I stood back watching parents and students move through the space. The energy was different, excited, proud. Maya, the student from Harmon's class, stood beside a display of her digital illustrations. A small crowd had gathered. She was explaining her techniques, beaming. Across the room, I spotted Harmon. He was watching Maya too, his expression unreadable. I walked over to him. Impressive turnout. He nodded stiffly. Yes. Maya's work is drawing quite a bit of attention. He glanced at me. Her technique has improved. It wasn't much, but coming from Harmon, it was practically a standing ovation. Sometimes, I said carefully, potential takes time to reveal itself. He didn't respond directly. Instead, he asked, You were a student here, you said? Yes. When? 20 years ago. He frowned, studying my face. Were you one of mine? The moment stretched between us. 20 years of pain, of proving him wrong, of climbing back from the blow he had dealt me. Yes, I said finally. I was one of yours. Recognition flickered in his eyes, not of my face, but of the possibility. What was your name back then? Matthews, I said. Daniel Matthews. He shook his head. I don't recall. You told me I had no talent, that I'd never amount to anything. His eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. If I said that, you must have. I dropped out 3 weeks later. That stopped him. For once, Richard Harmon was speechless. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, I continued. I'm telling you because you were wrong about me, and I wonder how many others you've been wrong about. He stared at me, then at the student artwork surrounding us. For a brief moment, I saw something like doubt cross his face. Excuse me, he muttered and walked away. The confrontation with Harmon changed things, though not in the way I expected. He didn't apologize, didn't suddenly transform into a nurturing teacher. But he grew quieter in meetings, less quick to dismiss new ideas. I noticed him spending more time with students, actually looking at their work instead of just critiquing it. And then in May, he submitted his retirement paperwork, effective end of the school year. When he handed me the forms, I asked, Are you sure about this? 45 years is enough, he said. Time for someone else to take over. I nodded. You've left your mark on Westfield. Yes, he agreed. Then, unexpectedly, not always a positive one, perhaps. It was as close to an admission as I'd ever get. The AP art position, he said. Maya Chen is graduating this year. She's applied to several art schools, received scholarships. I smiled. I'm not surprised. She asked if she could come back and teach here someday. He cleared his throat. I told her she should, that she has talent. Our eyes met, the word hanging between us. High praise, I said. He nodded once, then left my office. Harmon's retirement party was well attended. Former students, colleagues, community members. He'd been a fixture at Westfield for nearly half a century, after all. During the speeches, I kept mine brief and professional, acknowledged his years of service, his dedication to artistic excellence. When it was his turn to speak, Harmon surprised everyone. Teaching is a powerful position, he said. Words matter. They can build up or tear down, he paused. I haven't always chosen them wisely. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Our new principal, he continued, glancing at me, has reminded me of something important. Potential isn't always obvious. Talent develops at different rates. And sometimes the students we underestimate are the ones who return to show us our mistakes. A few people looked confused, others nodded knowingly. To Westfield's future, Harmon concluded, raising his glass. May it be brighter than its past. After the party, he approached me in the emptying gymnasium. I still don't remember you specifically, he admitted. There have been so many students. I know, but I believe you. He looked tired suddenly, old. I was harder on students than I needed to be. Believed talent was fixed, not developed. It's a common misconception. He nodded. The irony is I became a teacher because my own art wasn't good enough, not for the career I wanted. He gave a small, bitter laugh. Perhaps I've been punishing students for my own failures all these years. I hadn't expected this level of self-awareness from him. It's never too late to change, I said. For me, it is, but not for Westfield. He extended his hand. Take care of it, Matthews. I shook his hand. I will. The following September, I stood at Westfield's front entrance greeting students on the first day of school. New faces, returning faces, all part of the community I was building. The AP art position had been filled by Ms. Patel, who brought energy and inclusivity to the program. Enrollment had doubled. Maya Chen had been accepted to Rhode Island School of Design on a full scholarship. She'd sent me a note. Thank you for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself. As the last students filed in, I noticed someone standing by the flagpole, Richard Harmon, looking oddly out of place without his teacher's badge. I walked over. Mr. Harmon, this is a surprise. I was driving by, he said. Thought I'd see how the first day was going. So far, so good. He nodded, looking up at the building that had been his life for so long. I've been thinking about what you said, about being wrong. Oh? I found this in my files while cleaning out my home office. He handed me a folder. My name was written on the tab. I opened it. My rejected AP art application, the portfolio Harmon had dismissed 20 years ago. I actually did keep records, he said, detailed ones. I flipped through the familiar sketches, then found something unexpected. Harmon's written evaluation. Shows promise, raw talent needs refinement. Recommend foundational techniques course before AP placement. I looked up, confused. This isn't what you told me. He shook his head. No, it isn't. He looked ashamed. I was having a bad day, problems at home, taking it out on students. He gestured to the folder. That was my actual assessment. What I said to you was inexcusable. I stared at the evaluation, emotions swirling. All these years I'd believed I had no talent, that I wasn't good enough. I'm sorry, Matthews, Harmon said quietly. For what it's worth. I closed the folder. 20 years of hurt couldn't be erased with one apology, but it was something. Thank you for showing me this, I said finally. He nodded. Do right by them, he said, gesturing toward the school. Better than I did. I'm trying. He turned to leave, then paused. You know, you proved me wrong in the best possible way. You didn't become an artist. You became something more important. He smiled slightly. You became the teacher I should have been. As I watched him walk away, the morning bell rang. Students hurried inside. My students now, my responsibility. I tucked the folder under my arm and headed back to the building. Not as the failure Harmon had once declared me to be, but as Principal Matthews, the person who would make sure no student at Westfield ever felt the way I once had. Sometimes life doesn't just come full circle. Sometimes it gives you the chance to break the circle entirely to create something new. And that's exactly what I intended to do.